Hi again. So, in the past videos, I've shared 6 tips on how to make your learning more personal and creative. In this video, I want to give you 3 more concrete suggestions, 3 habits that can be very useful to help you learn effectively. This time, the topic is around language and identity. So, let's briefly introduce the topic. Is language just a tool? So let's imagine for a minute that you had a Google Translate, one that actually works, deeply embedded into your mind, and you would be able to just think in your mother language and then blabber out words in whatever other language you want to. Now, is that an acceptable goal for you? Is that the reason why you're learning the language? Would you be happy with that? I think it would be definitely amazing to be able to talk with anyone, but if you're like me and most of the language learners I've encountered, that wouldn't be a particularly exciting vision, an exciting result. And that's because deeply inside, we all know that the reason why we're learning a language is because we want to connect with others. And language is just part of that connection, just part of that communication that we want to establish. And simply talking with people is not enough to let ourselves be understood and understand others. So the underlying concept here is that there is a deep connection between the way we think and the way we speak. So again, we all know it in the early stage of language learning. If we think in a language and we speak out, let's say we think in English and speak out in Spanish, our quality of Spanish is not going to be very high. And that's exactly the link that we want to establish and we want to change. And that's the core of what I want to communicate to you in this video. So there are 3 habits, 3 tips that I recommend to overcome this hurdle. Point number 1, every language has some unique words, some unique concepts that are specific to their cultural context. Think about words like Wanderlust in German, Mienze in Chinese, Hygge in Danish. There are very specific things that people in that culture think about and that you might not even know they exist. Now, research those words in your target language, look what they are, and concentrate your learning on those words first. These will be pivotal for you to develop your understanding and your vocabulary going forward. And by the way, you can do this with words, you can do this with idiomatic expressions, you can do this with grammar constructions. So this is very powerful if you really make it concrete and bring it to the next level. Point number 2. When you have the opportunity to speak with a native speaker, ask them, what do they like about the language? What do they not like about it? What do they find most difficult? What do they find most unique? Just get that feeling, that perception of how they think about their own language. And especially if you're talking with someone or if you're learning a language that is very far from your mother tongue, from a linguistic perspective, let's say you're an English speaker and you're learning Japanese or Chinese, you're going to find very often that you get this feeling of being lost in translation. And that's exactly what you want to drill down into to understand better why that feeling comes about, why you get lost in translation, how to overcome that. So listen to them very carefully and really try to understand where this sense of being lost gets into. Final tip, number 3. We all know that communication is primarily about non-verbal cues, non-verbal communication. So don't underestimate that. Focus on that part of learning as well. And this is particularly helpful and great because you can also do it, especially in the early stages of language learning where you don't know too much vocabulary and you can just watch videos and observe how people move, how they speak, what is the rhythm of their speaking, how they interact. And that can really help you communicate more effectively. And it's very important, and it becomes even more important as you go forward, because as you go forward, you tend to lose focus on that. So, in a nutshell, once again, number 1, find your pivotal concepts in the language that you want to focus on, the distinctive words. Number 2, understand what this loss in translation feeling is about and work on that. And number 3, focus and don't underestimate nonverbal communication. These are the 3 very powerful tips that we use regularly at Tuto to help learners just like yourself learn more effectively and become fluent in the target language. Thank you for your attention.